Championship Saturday on Classic Candlepins. We've been waiting all week for it, and here it is. Along with Mark Ritchie, my name is Kyle Bruce, and today we are going to have two excellent candlepin bowlers, Mark and Jonathan Boudreau, and Brandon Marks here, our second seed. We talked a little bit after the match of our semifinal last week about the kind of bowler that Jonathan Boudreau is, and we saw Brandon Marks go over 400.
Yes.
Talk to us a little bit about what you foresee in this match. I mean, this is a match where it might take a 400 to win.
This is one of those matches where most definitely will probably take a 400 to win. You have the same two bowlers, just a left-handed and a right-handed version. They're both methodical. They both don't miss. One ball is exactly the same as the one before it. They are both very, very accurate. And if they can hit the pins, if Brandon can hit the pins the way he did last week, he's going to give Boudreau a run for his money. But if Boudreau hits the pins the way Brandon did last week, we might see the roof come off the building. This is one of those matches where it's real hard to predict, except that it's going to be a good one.
Is there a psychological edge that Jonathan has because he is the top seed? He only has to bowl one match. And we just saw Brandon put on an incredible exhibition.
Yes.
Is that something that goes in Jonathan's favor going into this championship match?
It really could. Knowing that you're the number one seed and that you only have to bowl one match to win the ladder series in and of itself, you earned the right through the qualifying. But now you have a man who's worked his way up to bowl against you. And now it's your turn to come through and either win the ladder series, or if you're the other guy, to come through and beat the number one. You just don't know how it's going to happen, but I do think that in this arena of the number two versus the number one always has the advantage. And
we're aware that his ball does work at the bowling center downtown because he holds that all-time record for 10 strings at $13.99 at 19 years of age going into this particular match. Even should he struggle, maybe Jonathan knows that he is capable of putting up a big string to get back into the match.
It's definitely key when you know you've already been at that bowling alley and you've already put the number that's on the wall. Not just a good number one night in your league, but you put a number that's a house record that's up on the wall. No matter how you feel later, you'll always walk into that center knowing that you can get it done in this place because you've done it before. And I think Jonathan's already a very, very confident individual as it is. Something like that, as a house record holder myself in another bowling alley, you walk into that place and you own it. And I think that's how Jonathan feels when he walks into the bowling alley in downtown, that he owns it, even though I own it. But that's another story.
In any event, we own this segment,
yes.
Absolutely. Jonathan has a very tough test in Brandon Marks, and we look forward to catching up with you after this championship match unfolds. Jonathan Boudreau, our top seed, faces Brandon Marks on Classic Candlepins.
It's Saturday night, and it's Ladder Championship Saturday for our first ladder of Classic Candlepins with the entire crew. My name is Kyle Bruce, along with Rich Limoni. Rich, we're going to have an awesome three-string matchup with total pinfall determining our winner today. The way the step ladder unfolds, we have our number 2 seed, Brandon Marks, facing our number 1 seed, Jonathan Boudreau, who through our only 700 here, he's very familiar with this house. Actually, both gentlemen are, and this should be a great match.
It should be an epic match. Brandon came out of the gate flying, didn't let up until the last box, and he's going to bring that against Jonathan, because if he doesn't, we know what's going to happen. So I expect both bowlers to be very fierce. Should be an excellent match.
I can't wait. Let's get it started. I have nothing else to say. We're going to have our first ball thrown right after this timeout. This is it. Ladder Championship Saturday starts off with our number 2 seed, Brandon Marks, who threw 401 last week in defeating Keith Beaupre. And as we saw, he's very comfortable and very capable of throwing big scores.
Comes right out of the gate with a 9 drop.
On cue.
As if nothing changed.
Brandon's going to give a chance, give a moment to allow this wood to roll off the plate. And he'll have a clear shot at the 10 pin to get us started.
All over it.
Brandon with a 662 for his roll-off score and fills his spare with 2 as he punched out half Worcester left.
He knew it as soon as he let it go, too.
Brandon is from East Boston, 31 years of age. Works for Garrity Stone and Rubin. And settles in with a 7 box and a 19 after 2. And as we introduce our number 1 seed, Jonathan Boudreau. He threw 717 in the final.
Right on that head stick, leaves the diamond. Oh, it was the diamond, right? Carries the 9-pin. Leaves the right triangle now. 3, 5, 6. Piece of wood behind the 5.
Jonathan holds the house record here for 10 strings, 13.99. He did it earlier this year. And that's a 10 box to get his night started. Jonathan averages 129. His high single 190. His high triples 455. And he's 19 years of age. Lane 6 looks like it's in need of a reset. Jonathan is a bowler who is very quick. Gets the ball off the rack and just fires.
He fires away. Absolutely. I faced him this Friday night. He wiped the floor with me, and I think I got caught up in trying to match speed with him, and that's not my game. I bowl a lot slower than he does. I got out of my rhythm. In the 3rd string, I managed to slow down, but it can very easily get in your head if you're not careful. You know, that's why this type of format might be more beneficial one-on-one, because his tempo just doesn't affect you at all.
I think that's a great point. And one of the things I want to ask you is, do you think that is part of his game, is when you're bowling in a format where both of you are on the approach bowling together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes into play at certain times. I mean, he is the fastest around, and people joke about it, and you know, and he knows it.
Nice conversion there.
Carries it
For the 2nd mark early in this match, our championship match.
Usually because I've bowled against him before, that doesn't affect me. I can usually stay my own pace, and that was the first time I got wrapped. Kind of came out of nowhere.
Bonus. Almost got the same leave.
That 7-pin should be gone.
And it is.
Yeah, there we go.
Fills his spare with 7. He's 36 after 3. He has a side saddle triangle composed of the 2, 5, and 8. Should carry it if he's on the object.
Wow. Leaves the 5-pin amazingly.
And made a liar out of me. How about that?
Well, that strictly depends on which pin you were talking about carrying. You could have been talking about the 8-pin.
That's
In
true.
that case, he
Yes.
hit the object and it carried.
Well, you know, thanks for being my advocate. Most appreciative. Jonathan went open his first 2 and
Right on the head pin.
has a larger triangle to deal with. Rather unconventional, made up of the 3, 8, and 10. Jonathan is going to college to pursue a double major in education and English. Hopes of being a high school English teacher. 9 box. And one of
his hobbies. He likes to keep track of all his statistics. Back on the head pin that time, but drove everything back. So he's going to be open his first 4 boxes. See him slow the tempo down maybe just a bit here. He's 34 after 4.
I don't know if it was the pace. I mean, he hit the head pin on lane 7, leaves a weird triangle. I mean, there's not much you can do there. And then when you throw the Worcester, you just got to try to pin the best you can.
Brandon's back up on lane 7. Was a little light, but he has a spare lead, the 2 and 5. Slid by the object pin. So these bowlers are familiar with each other, having won a state triples title together with Det Klein. As Brandon has a 10 box here, he has a 55 half. Of course, Det, one of the great veterans of Candlepin bowling over the years. Still throws a great ball, as do these gentlemen.
They'll all be bowling together at this year's Worlds on the same team.
Well, how do you like that? I look forward to seeing that. This will be the first World Tournament I'll be able to see, as it will be held in Haverhill this year.
So much for hitting your objects.
Well, it's early.
It is.
Maybe both bowlers are a little tight in this championship match, as they're a pair of 10s for Brandon and puts him at 65 after 6. Jonathan is up on the line looking for his first mark of this championship match. We're glad to have you with us here on Saturday night. And look at that, the 189.
I have a feeling he's going to make this.
Well, he bounced that one a bit.
Yeah, so I take it back.
It's all right. That was
Makes
a nice
a great
out.
9 box out of it.
Nice out. Jonathan is down by 12 after 5 boxes completed here in this first string. Moves over to lane 6. And he drops 9. Let's see if that wood cooperates for him.
I think you can play any part of that.
There's a good profile of Jonathan trying to survey that situation. And gets his first mark. Brandon threw a sparkling 401 last week. Seemed like he marked pretty much every other box.
That's what it felt like the first 2 strings anyway. If memory serves, he had 11 marks in the first 2 strings.
Right now he'll deal with 4 horsemen left. Runs
Nice
it down
shot.
exactly the way that you say it should be done in this house. Going outside on the head pin and using that domino effect. That's the 3rd mark, and as not luck would have it, they're all on lane 7. Bonus.
5, 6, 10. He fills his spare with 7.
If we could call Starner in. Call
I
in
know
a
it.
sub, call in the righty.
Right. No pun intended. Try to get that wood to take out the 5 and maybe go off the wall.
I think that's the way you had to play it.
Well, unless we brought in Starner and he could have just made it with no wood.
Right.
9 box for Brandon. Puts him at 91. Jonathan is back up. 53 with a ball after 6. Filling his first mark of this championship match. Fills it with 6.
Leaves the 1, 2, 9, 10. He's got a piece of wood up against the 9.
Maybe right side of the head pin, maybe? Or just
That way.
play it that way.
Yeah.
You know, that's fine.
And I was going to say that piece of wood, that if he did end up driving the head pin straight back, that piece of wood should have allowed everything to sweep to the right anyway. So it looked like he had a couple of different options, and I
It
didn't
paid
even
off.
didn't even have a chance to speak about it.
Light hit, and I'm not going to say it.
Check mark left.
7-pin advantage for Brandon Marks after Jonathan fills his spare with 6. Nine box. 84 after 8. The lead is 7. Brandon Marks to conclude our first string here.
It's on the head pin. Leaves a diamond left. 2, 4, 5, and 8.
Will the diamond win again? Indeed it does. Always the pin in the back. This time it's the 8 pin. Brandon's going to try to check it for a 10. And he does just that. 101 after 9.
Every pin's going to count with these two.
Yep. It's tight early. I mean, I envision the next 2 strings we'll see some adjustments made and higher scores, but Brandon right now is looking at a split. 2, 4, 6, 10. But like you said, he makes the cut shots. Oh,
That had a little bit more spin. It might have taken out the 6. That's a great bid on it.
Brandon carries a league average of 125. He'll finish this string with a 109. And Jonathan is back up.
Buries the head pin. He's looking at a split. 3, 4, 6, 10.
Went outside on it, on the object, which was number 3, and couldn't get much to happen. Score that a 9. 93. Brandon picks up a pin and count. And going into string 2, Jonathan would need a mark 6 to tie.
That's a mark.
There's your mark.
First strike of the afternoon.
And a bomb. No doubt about that one.
First bonus ball.
Oh, he's getting an incredible mix up there.
No luck. 2-4-7-8 on his first bonus ball. And he fills a strike with 9. So, an early 3-pin advantage for Jonathan Boudreau after one string. He leads us 112 to Brandon Marks 109, and we'll be back with our second string right after this timeout. It's the middle string, and that means our higher seed will get us started off, and that would be Jonathan Boudreau, our number 1 seed in this ladder championship final here on Classic Candlepins. Triangle right to get us started off. 3, 5, and 6. Put it down.
He carries it. 6-pin almost wanted to stay up.
4th mark of the match so far. My goodness. 7 is the fill. But 6, 8, 10 is the leave with no wood.
That is ugly. Off a solid head pin hit.
Oh, and he nearly cut it over. A beautiful bid. Nice pinning. 10 box and 27 after 2. Brandon is back up to start his second string with his fancy shoes, which we have to get a shot of at some point. I mean, this is crazy. Have you ever seen shoes like that? Come on.
Those shoes are awesome. He told me they were Ebonites before the show.
Wow. The Caleri to get his second string started off. 4 horsemen right, and there we go. Thank you very much. How good is our crew?
That's incredible.
I mean,
ask
come
and
on.
you shall receive.
Yes. The 1-8 remains. Starts off string 2 with an 8 box. Brandon would like to own a bowling alley in the future.
I think that would be a fun profession.
As would I. I had great plans when I was in high school of my own bowling alley. Brandon has a split, looking at 6, 7, and 9. He's got a couple pieces of wood on the deck.
I'd almost play that wood on the left, right below the red line.
I think that, again, you just know how to play wood, in my opinion. That's why you're here with us.
I'm always convinced that it's going to go left and right. See?
Yeah, like that.
Yeah.
Yep. So a 10 box, and that's 18 after 2. Jonathan's lead in this match, although it is early, is now 12. Can't break up the split that time. 2, 4, 6, 7.
Yeah, he's looking at the opposite side now.
Lost that one a bit. If there's anything that we can say about Jonathan is consider the value of youth bowling and how he really took advantage of that, and what a smooth transition it was going from
the youth bowling right into the professional ranks, because he's already at 19 years of age near the very top of the game.
Well, the other thing too is he wanted to challenge them. He was bowling Pro Series events before he was, couldn't win money. He paced, so he was used to bowling with that type of that caliber bowlers. So I mean, it was a smooth transition because he had been doing it like it was his job.
Well, I'm a believer that the very best can make that transition easily, and I don't think there's a doubt that Jonathan belongs in that conversation, no question about it. It's going to be hard for Brandon to pick up a pin and count here, but he does with a 9 box there. Some ugliness left up there. Classic Candlepins. We're coming to you from historic Amesbury, Massachusetts. Of course, if you'd like information on how to find out when the roll-offs are so you can compete to qualify on our show, you can always call us at 978-792-5475 or email us at classiccandlepins@comcast.net, or you can find us on Facebook.
Nice bid on that split. Ends up leaving the 610. Should easily be able to shoot this for a 10 box. Takes the 9.
9 box and 36. So we're going to take a look at the scoreboard. After 4 boxes completed in our second string, Jonathan Boudreau leads Brandon Marks 44-36. And we're going to take a step away, but we'll be back right after this timeout. We're back on Classic Candlepins to get the rest of string number 2 completed. And on the line is Jonathan Boudreau. Right through the heart that time.
He's the dreaded spread eagle. 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 10. Does a great job making a 9 out of that box.
Yes, it was. 53 at the half. And a punch out. Both bowlers looking to be searching for their rhythm in this championship match. Still 5 pins standing.
Got the 1, 4, 7, 8, 10. And he makes
Nice
it.
check. 63 after 6 for Jonathan. Only 1 mark so far here in the second string, and that was the spare 7 that Jonathan had.
Marks on the head pin. Gets an 8-pin drop out of that. Leaves the 3-5.
Of course, this ladder championship match, as well as all of our matches here in downtown Amesbury, are officiated by our lob line judge and referee, the illustrious Francis W. Stanwood. 10 box. There's a shot of him right now. The best dressed person here, as he always is, with a watchful eye on that lob line. Light hit. Now, what do you call that?
Check mark right. And
So
the
that's
7-pin?
a forward check mark and not a reverse one?
I don't know.
All right. It's your gimmick. I don't know what that. Wow, that's a nice bid.
I was just basically saying which side of the deck it was.
Well, I'm just trying to give you credit, that's
I
all. And a 10 box.
They are pinning well.
56. The lead is 10 so far in this match. Jonathan slipped a bit on the line and has a split to negotiate. 2-4-6-7. No wood to help. Nice
Almost
bid.
cuts it over.
$10. 73 after 7. Pins are a little hard to come by so far in this match. And another split. 2-4-6 this time. Yes!
He does make the cut this
A
time.
great shot by Jonathan Boudreau that time. Going off the wall and getting that 6-pin. So that's his second mark of the match.
This is fifth of the match, second of the string.
Thank you for. God bless you. I'm just so glad that you're here. A mirror of the shot that Jonathan just made is on lane 7 right now. 3-4-6. It's heavy on number 3.
And I applaud these bowlers for continuing to hit the head pin, because there's a lot of people out there that would say, you know what, I'm going to try something else. I'm the same way. I would continue to try to hit the head pin. I don't care if I get 10 splits.
You got to pin. That's the name of the game. The marks may not be coming. No pun intended.
It's just off the head pin. Marks leaves the 4 horsemen right and the 4 pin.
It's an unusual leave. See that too often. Nice bid. Brandon's opposite spare here, so he's going to lose some pins and count. 10 box makes him 75 after 8 in the second string. Jonathan's up to fill that spare on lane 7. And look at this, our first break of the match for either bowler.
Buries the head pin. That looked like it was going to be the eagle. Got a little backwards action.
Yes. Back-to-back marks for Jonathan. Puts him at 100 plus a ball. To our 9th frame.
Jonathan got another break that time. He fills his spare with 6. He is 1, 2, 7, and 8. Tough shot here.
I like it better for the lefty.
He's a little unhappy with himself as he missed the object pin that time. And closes out string number 2 with a 9 and a 115, which puts him at a 2-string total of 227.
Considering the number of splits that they've both had to go through, I mean, that's a pretty good total for 2 strings.
No, they haven't left pins on the deck. They've been certainly pinning well. This time Brandon is a spare leave. 1, 3, 6. On the object again, but drove it straight back. Nine box puts him at 84.
Really use a mark here.
Well, the spare 7 and the spare 6 from Jonathan to close out string 2 has created a little bit of distance here, so. What a difference a week makes. But it's literally half a board. If you look at it, it's an inch between being full and throwing a bunch of strikes and spares and everything else. So
could just be a little extra rotation or not enough. Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's the distance of where you're starting.
This is true. A 93. Close out the second string and a 202. So after 2 strings, Jonathan Boudreau has a 25-pin lead, leading 227 to 202. And we'll be back to conclude our ladder championship match for Classic Candlepins right after this timeout. Brandon Marks gets us started in our 3rd string here to wrap up our first ladder of the season. Ladder Championship Saturday. And he can't believe it because he's through the middle again and has the big 5 leave to get it. His 3rd string started.
I just don't know what to say.
I don't think he does either.
I'm getting speechless at this point. I mean, the amount of times that these 2 bowlers have hit the head pin and had absolutely nothing to show for it.
And 8 box. The worst leave you can possibly get in this game, the 7-10. He does have a couple pieces of wood on the deck.
Gonna have to go at the 7 and hope that wood shoots over.
Oh. It's a nice bid, but drove that piece of wood behind the 10-pin. He's opened his first 2 here in this 3rd string. 18 after 2. The leader in the match, Jonathan Boudreau, up by 25. Breaks up the split, has the 6-pin all along.
I was going to ask, how is that not a split?
I know it.
It's right on it. Jonathan's 2 for 2 on his 9-pin drops.
Begins the 3rd string with a spare. Fills it with 7. Has the triangle left.
2, 4, 5. The piece of wood that was behind the 5 is rolled off the deck.
Not this time. $10, 27 after 2. The lead goes to 34. So with 8 boxes to go, Brandon needs 3 marks anyhow. And Betty isn't sure what it wants to do. But he buried the ball right in the pocket and has the 5, 7, 8, 9. Rich, you're speechless.
Yeah, I mean, I can't believe that pin moved, didn't fall. Can't believe he wasn't at least just looking at the triangle. Like, how did nothing hit the 7 pin? It's got to be so frustrating because Jonathan's had just as many splits, and Brandon hasn't been able to capitalize on anything at all. I mean, it's not like he's losing the match. He's just not winning. I mean, he's not missing shots. And when he's had a shot to look at, Brandon has drilled his object pins. He's bowling great and not scoring, which is unfortunate, especially in a championship match.
He has the full horseman right plus the 8. It was a little heavy on number 1. The 6-10 for a 10, and yes. So he goes 8-10 in boxes 3 and 4, as he did in boxes 1 and 2 of string number 3. Jonathan has a spare leave.
Anywhere above the red line should be fine.
There it is. Another spare. So Jonathan creating some distance here in this 3rd string. As Brandon's gone.
Jonathan's just off the head pin. He manages to carry the pin in the back. Leaves the 4 horsemen left.
On number 1, as we said again. $9 and 52.
That chirp, he pushes the lead up to 41.
And after 4 boxes completed here in this 3rd string of our ladder championship match on Classic Candlepins, Jonathan Boudreau leads this 3rd string 52-36. And we'll be back with the conclusion of our match right after this timeout. We are back on Classic Candlepins to conclude our first ladder championship series. And Brandon Marks is on the line, trailing by 41. By my calculations, he's been open 17 boxes in a row. And what do you know? He's got a spare leave.
He carried the 10 pin.
The 4-8. This should be Mrs. Riley's duck soup. And it is. Badly needed mark.
And I mean, a testament to those 17 open boxes. He hit the head pin 13 times. I mean, that's a great percentage.
You know, what more can you ask for?
What can you do?
Little light.
There
He's
you
got
go.
it. He's got a big fill. He's got the 7 pin. 54, 55 make it. I Just can't add. Yes. So Brandon responds with a pair of marks here out of the break. Let's see what our top seed can do here to respond. Well, he got a bit of a break.
He's off the head pin. He got some really good action up there. He leaves the 1-3-7.
Slid by that time. Eight box and a 60 half.
Brandon just picked up 11 pins that box. It leads down to 30. He's got a ball.
Plus he's got another spare up that he has to fill, so Jonathan wants to... This is not an easy shot. 1-7. No. Nine box puts him at 69 after 6. Brandon needs to keep throwing marks, pun intended.
Oh, and he throws a hammer.
Look at that. 3 marks in a row. 85 with 2 bonus balls.
The lead through box completed. It's down to 19 pins.
Nice spot for a double right here.
Is there ever a bad spot for a double? Well, I guess if you're the opponent.
This is true, yes.
Oh, he got a pretty good mix out of that ball. Leaves the 1-2 piece of wood up against the 2. You want to avoid that altogether. You're just going to have to drive the head pin right into the 2 pin. You don't want to try to go in that pocket because you can hit that piece of wood and then completely miss the head pin altogether.
Yes. Look out. We have a match.
That was our first strike of this match, wasn't it? Yes, it was. That's our second.
Wow. The response from our top seed. He's not going away. This is pressure time. Five, 9, and 10. Jonathan is not happy that that wood just rolled into the channel. Right hand tip.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the way you're going to have to do it, although he's a lefty. So maybe he can spin it all the way around if he goes all the way left.
Oh, it went between the 9 and the 10. So he fills his strike with 8. Puts him at 87. But he's open here in the 8th. 9 box, 96. Brandon is at 105 plus a ball.
Brandon picked up 2 more pins that last box, then leads down to 17.
A stirring conclusion to our championship match here on Classic Candlepins. Brandon elected to reset there as it was something he didn't like here. Here's a big bonus ball. Triangle left plus the 10, 2, 4, 5, 10. No wood.
What a bid.
$10, 121.
I feel like that should have been a better result on that head pin hit. Surprised you leave the triangle and the 10 pin. Brandon's making a charge, a valiant effort here to cut into that lead. I'm going to call you to tell the folks at home what that leave is.
I'm not saying anything. I have no money.
It's only a nickel.
No, I have no money. I don't know what to tell you.
It's a left check mark, everybody.
Maybe hot dog in a balloon, perhaps.
He makes it.
$131 plus this ball. Looks good. 7, 138, 340. Jonathan has a split. No. $10.
8 pins will be enough to do it. 7 for the tie.
Big drama in our first ladder championship match. And he comes away with the bomb. What a great finish. Our first ladder champion is Jonathan Boudreau. Sounded like a little like Empire Strikes Back. The first transport is away. First bonus ball.
I almost called double, and now I'm glad I didn't. It was close, though. That was a great ball.
Well, it's elementary at this point. 8 box, 124, 351.
Yeah. 351.
So a great finish for our first ladder championship match. Jonathan Boudreau is our ladder champion, defeating Brandon Marks 351 to 340. We'll be back to talk with our two bowlers right after this timeout. What a stirring conclusion to our first ladder championship series here on Classic Candlepins. Workmanlike effort by our two bowlers here, both on the object pin, and I had to deal with a lot of splits and ugly leaves, but that's why this is Candlepin Bowling, and I'm here with Brandon Marks right now, our runner-up for this first ladder, and it was tough going out there, but you certainly made a great run in that third string and very nearly pulled it off.
Oh, thank you. Like you said, that's Candlepin Bowling. Last week, 4-1, everything's working, and then this week you feel like you're throwing the same ball, but you're just a little bit off, and that's what happens.
Rich and I were talking about it earlier during the broadcast, and because you're through the middle or you have other kind of splits or ugly leaves, that could be the difference between half a board here, and that makes all the difference on the score sheet.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, some third balls there I got away. You can't leave up 2 pins in a mix or in a cluster when you're up there. You got to take care of those 10 boxes. They'll definitely add up at the end, and like you saw, it definitely cost me.
Well, it's an 11-pin match, very close. I mean, you had that 138 to bring it closer, but I thought it was a great match. And
one of the things I wanted to add to the match, and I couldn't interject it in, of the bowlers that were in this ladder, I've faced you more than anyone else. And one of the things I wanted to say, and I felt bad because I knew more about you than all of the other bowlers. So I don't want to just make it the Brandon Marks show, so I had to calm down with what I said. But you are one of the fiercest competitors, and I wanted to talk about how our head-to-head match that we had a few years ago in doubles and how you are relentless. And I saw that today in those last 5 boxes. You gave him a run, and that's what you're supposed to do. How are you feeling those last 5 boxes right before the end of the match?
Oh, it's great. It definitely turned the whole match around for me. It would have been tough walking out of here with the 310 and getting buried by 40. So definitely happy to make it close.
Was there an adjustment that you made in the last 5?
Yeah, definitely. I started to put a little more lift on the ball. I think I was aiming it maybe a little bit too much, and you really can't do that. You need to put a little lift and throw that natural ball. You definitely can't force it in.
And that caused you to break up those splits and get a little better action on the pins, and it certainly showed, I thought.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Well, we look forward to seeing you again, and thank you so much for coming out and being the runner-up for this ladder.
Thanks. I appreciate the
Yes,
opportunity.
good job.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Me first. Good job.
Pretty much. Thank you so much. And now our ladder champion, Jonathan Boudreau. How about a hand for the champ?
Great job out there, Johnny. You battled the whole day. You seem to be carrying the extra pins. You were on the head pin. What was it like, boxes 1 to 30? I mean, it was a long trip for you today.
Well, there were a lot of full hits. Not a lot was breaking up for either one of us, really. And there was a lot of pinning involved. And last couple strings started getting a few extra leads and ended up being the difference.
I think one of the important things that maybe some of the kids can take away from this match that may be watching on TV and online is that when you don't have the strike ball going, you don't have the spare ball, and you're pinning though, and you're not leaving any pins on the deck. And I think this match was an exhibition of that kind of competition and what you need to do just to stay in a match or maintain the lead that you had throughout.
Yeah, he definitely gave me a run there. I mean, I missed the head pin twice in a row, and those same 2 boxes, he came back with a couple of marks, and that's when it tightened up. And luckily, I got a strike in the 7th box, which kept me there, and then, just cruised my way out.
Did you know that you needed 8 to win this match in the 10th?
I didn't know exactly. I knew I needed under 10, so just hoping to put it on the head pin like I had been the whole match, and just hope enough falls. And luckily, the strike ball came that box, so I guess it was the right time.
Well, that was clutch. I thought that was a great 3rd string, and
absolutely.
was a very workmanlike match. But you are our ladder champion. We look forward to seeing you at the end of the year in the Tournament of Champions. So thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
Jonathan Boudreau, ladies and gentlemen. So, Rich, this concludes our first ladder, and
Yeah, it seemed like it was
roll-offs
successful.
are
It was a lot of good matches.
absolutely, and roll-offs are continuing as we speak, so we can have our next 5 compete in our second ladder. So down the road, they'll face Jonathan in our Tournament of Champions. So it's something I'm certainly looking forward to.
Yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
That'll do it. Ladder Championship Saturday is over. We have a new ladder champion in Jonathan Boudreau, 351 to 340. We look forward to seeing you next time from downtown Amesbury on Classic Candlepins. For our entire crew and Rich Lamoni, my name is Kyle Bruce. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Well, Mark Ritchie, this is how Championship Saturday ends, as we have a new ladder champion. Jonathan Boudreau defeats Brandon Marks 351 to 340 to cap off a very interesting first ladder here on Classic Candlepins. What a match, especially that 3rd string coming down where Brandon Marks with 5 marks and really closed the gap on Jonathan. But we saw Boudreau does what champions do, and he closes it out with a strike 8, and he is our first ladder champion.
Yeah, it was really looking iffy there for Brandon going into the 3rd string. Jonathan was up by some 30 pins going into the last game, and out of nowhere, Brandon runs 4 marks in a row, including a strike, and then he puts the spare in that, and all of a sudden it's, wow, if he puts 2 more together, he's going to come back from 30 pins. And then he gave Jonathan the run. He finished with the spare in the 10th, but Jonathan needed 7 to tie, 8 to win in the last box, I believe, and throws the bomb. And if you're going to finish a match, there's no better way to finish a match and win the ladder series than throwing the biggest strike of the entire ladder. And congratulations to Jonathan. He came in and he got it done.
Well, he was the top seed. He had the only 700 that we saw with that 717, and he made that stand up by winning this ladder. And we saw an introduction of a couple bowlers that haven't been on TV. You mentioned Jason Paul from Raymond, New Hampshire, that came on and bowled in a great first match against John Starner, and was a little bit short. And we saw Keith Beaupre in a couple matches, advancing to the the second round, but falling to Brandon Marks, who I thought bowled very well, and even when he didn't have, wasn't putting up the strikes and spares on the score sheet, he was able to pin and be very competitive, and that's why we saw such a great championship match.
Yeah, it was a very interesting ladder, all the way from the bottom to the top. We saw in every match the higher seed won each match, which will tell you when there are qualifying roll-offs and you're at the final, it is super important to finish as high as you can. Because when you do bowl the guy underneath you, he's already bowled. You're fresh. So the advantage is to finish 1, 2, or even in the third seed to give yourself the best shot. And we watched it happen the entire ladder series. The guy who was the higher seed just seemed a little bit fresher. I feel like the championship match was everything we could have wanted out of a good championship match. It wasn't extremely high scoring, but it came down to the last box. A guy needs 7 to tie and he throws a strike. There were just pins and fills and just marks and everything that you wanted in a good championship match. I really think we got it. I was very pleased. Very, very pleased.
Well, we look forward to our second ladder, which will start airing soon, and a new crop of bowlers that will be featured in the semifinal roll-offs and the final roll-offs. Again, we'll be taking the top 5 of this ladder, and we utilize that step ladder format, and it'll be interesting to see if we get the disparity in from our 5th place finisher to the 1st, as we saw in this one. 140 pins. We did talk about it earlier. And it'll be interesting to see if we get a group of 5 this time that are a little bit closer together.
Yeah, that was a real large gap, you know, from the 1st seed to the 5 seed. 140 pins is a real, real big gap. But that was just how it went that day. We had 2 guys come in and throw 650 or better, and when you go to a TV final in 5 strings, if you throw 650, you're averaging 130. And we had 2 guys walk in and do it. And the other 3 guys had to kind of duke it out for the rest of the seeds. But the guys who bowled the best scored the best and left as a champion. Congratulations, Mr. Boudreau.
Well, we certainly look forward to seeing you on our second ladder of Classic Candlepins. For Mark Ritchie, I'm Kyle Bruce, and we look forward to seeing you on the next step ladder on Classic Candlepins.